Okay, so here is the situation where we have there's supposed to be a washer dryer over here. Well, I don't have a washer dryer. Here's the indoor heating and air part, and with a return, and then just a big blank wall that's kind of wasted space. Behind there is a water heater. So the objective is to recover some of this space. What we're going to do, first we're going to utilize a drywall saw, and the way you do this, you punch a hole through the drywall. In this case, we know what's behind it. There are no wires back here, and as you saw, you feel as it hits the 2x4, then you use that 2x4 as a guide. You just cut right along the edge of the drywall, edge of the 2x4, cut the drywall at the edge of 2x4, and pretty much that's your guideline. You get the whole thing cut out, and then just clean up the edges, and there you go. Just make sure there's no wiring in the way, and like that, and well, there you go. Well, that's pretty easy. The next thing to do is cut this piece out. I'm going to put some tape here on the floor to protect this a little bit, hopefully. Just a matter of being very careful. Putting a piece of 2x4 in here for support. Getting that even, nice and parallel, and trick. This is what we normally would call rocking chair wood, and you can see why if you look right down the end how curved it is. A lot of times it'll be curved 2 or 3 different directions, like this one is curved and also twisted. The thing about it is I only need a piece this long. And if you look right here, here's a piece that you can actually pull out of this that's actually straight. When you buy lumber, count on it. If you buy 10 pieces, you're going to get a couple of these twisted ones. Even if they look straight at the store, by the time you get home, they dry out. They start drying out and start twisting. So if you need 10 pieces, buy 12. Just saying. But anyway, there's a nifty look. Cleaned up a little bit, and we got a piece cut here. It's going to wind up right up in here. Put it up in there, and get that nail screwed in place. And no, that's the thing. I don't want to nail it, because nailing it, bang, bang, bangs, and knock. This is a mobile home. Remember, you start knocking things loose. So pre-drill and screw. And we'll get things secured without shaking things around more than you need to. I need to mark that. Taking the straight edge and shim this out to where there's no gaps in it. And it actually came out more or less level, or plumb in this case, which is weird. And picking up through the top of it, and you'll see it. So what you can do is just kind of push in a little bit with the handle, and it dimples it down just enough. When you put mud over it, then it'll be covered by the mud. Same with that little nail head right there. Some of the paper I'm not going to make really doesn't matter, because I don't care. That really is. How much detail you put in depends entirely on how much you care how it looks. This is a mobile home. It'll never be right. The only way to make a mobile home right is tear it completely down to the steel frame, and then get some more steel and weld it in there for support, and build up and completely rebuild it from scratch. It's the only way to make it right. So it's a mobile home. I took one of these rails down in the other room. I was going to paint the wall. I took that trim piece off. There's a gap in there between the wall and the ceiling, anywhere from 1/4 to 3/4 of an inch. Just wow, wow, wow. So there's all kinds of junk in the trailer. They don't build them like they build a house. 20-minute, and the difference between this and regular pre-mixed mud. This stuff is air dry. It has water in it, and as the water evaporates, it gets harder. So it could take overnight. You put a slap of that on there to however long it takes for the moisture, the water and the moisture to evaporate out. That's how long it takes for it to get hard. Quick set, but basically get 20, 40, and 60 and 120 minutes. So that 20-minute set time, that in 20 minutes is sandable. Now, it's not real sandable because it'll clog up a piece of sandpaper, but it's firm and it's fairly hard. And you can actually put a second coat on it 20 minutes from now. And what that is a chemical dry. So it doesn't, you mix it with water, but it's the water and the chemical create a reaction that causes the stuff to dry, to get hard. It gets hard. So I decided the shelf should be here. Is that the top or the bottom? I don't know. Maybe we should figure that out. Anyway, so that's the first step. We think we know where they are. I put those lines there. The next thing you do, and that's wood. How can you tell? Because that is not wood. So I'm making holes in an area that I know are covered up. Now if you go to reverse and slightly press to one side, gives just enough grip on the edge. So you see now this is right on the edge of the 2x4. So this is the edge of the 2x4. This we know. That's the bottom of the 2x4. This is not. All the way around, all the way around, all the way around. Like I said before, just to cover up this wood. Okay, so we've pretty much got one coat of paint on most things. Oh, look at this wonderful. Had to put little kills over those marks. Apparently it's not a good idea to use magic marker to draw your lines. They bleed through the paint. So there's little kills on there. Cover up those marks. And then to touch up a few of these little spots that kind of showed up when the paint came on, and fill in the screw holes a little bit. Come a little bit like that. Overall, came out pretty well. Plenty good enough for what it is. And then remember, this corner gets a corner bead like this. Gets this kind of corner bead. But anyway, I didn't need to put a bracket in. I just ran these boards all the way over to the stud on both, so I didn't have to fool around with putting a spacer in here. I'm going to put styrofoam in here and cover that up. Just need to get this moved over. Put our little, I'm going to put a barrier across here. Put a 2x2 down on both sides here. Put a piece of sheetrock in here on both sides. Let's keep it clean and put the shelves in. And then I'm going to consider putting a coat of paint on that. But this is a scrap. Still need to put a little trim. I'm going to cut the styrofoam off from the corner, which is simply taking a putty knife, jam it in this way, then just hit it this way once, pop that styrofoam right off. So it really, this is old paint. Remember, the green paint I'm using here, is 16 years old. I know, it sounds like fun, doesn't it? I'm going to slide the tank over about 6 inches. And as I do so, I'm going to twist it around, and that keeps the piping. Can't see it. Can you see that? That keeps the piping. If we twist that around, the piping stays the same. I won't have to change anything. The drain will stay the same. Everything will stay the same except for the pan drain. Okay, so the first thing we do, shut the power off. Shut the power off. Second thing, shut the water off. Now, the third thing, open the sink drain, just a little, spigot, and let some of the water out. And what I'm going to do is release the pressure, because that only works from pressure. I gotcha. I was wanting to flush some of the tank and look at the water in a bucket and see if there's any actual residue coming out. Rheem, good class. The difference between this water heater and a real house water heater is the input and output are on the side. We're in a real house, they're on the top. And what that means to you is, if you replace this water heater with a mobile home water heater, you pay $200 more than you would with a standard. I think that has to do with, because it's going in the side, it has to have a different structure on the inside. Now, a lot of times in a mobile home, you'll have a space like this, and this thing's just jammed in there. There's no place to make the connections, so that's why they're designed this way. However, in this one, obviously, we have more than enough room above, so if this goes bad, just put a regular house water heater in, and we're good to go. What we're going to do, see, obviously, this is the drain that would drain out to here, except the way this is jammed in here, you have an opportunity for it to overflow here and on the other side before it actually gets out here. Well, depends on how fast it's coming out. Start over. So this is now moved about as close as we can possibly get it to that wall, and we're going to have just barely enough to put a little clearance barrier thing in here. These things worked out real well. The flexibles, this will work. See how flexed this is, and how this is now in the wrong orientation. It needs to be over here with a little 30-degree on it. So the only way to fix that is to go downstairs. Make sure I got all that. Get this right. This is the part underneath the drain, that pan drain, and the overflow drain that I tied right in to a hose so it all goes out. Now this one here is stressed, and that one's in the wrong direction. So the easiest way to fix that is cut both of these, twist the top part around, and re-glue it. So that's pretty much what we'll do. I did find a couple of boards. This is actually from furniture. This is a leg to furniture, but it's the right size. Just trimmed it off, paint the edge. So that edge is actually all right. Well, here we are. Finally got the trim on, and the way I did this trim is I cut it to fit. Then I ran a bead of caulk down in the corner, put it on, and then stapled it with little brads, and that holds it in place pretty well. And part of that is this part right here is going to get some, just keep everything from sliding around. Put a screw in that one. You can see the whole water tank thing worked out real well. And when I skidded it back, now the tray here is equal height. Remember before, this part of the tray was about ½ an inch from the floor. So if it filled up, it would be pouring out here. I had to go back now and tighten. This is 16 years old. So I went back and tightened, snugged up, not retightened, but just snugged up all the fittings, and added some insulation on the hot water pipe, which it didn't have. Put 4 inches of insulation in this wall. But what about this wall? Yeah, well, this one was open and I had the foam, so I put it in there. And I thought I had, now here's the problem, I thought I had materials, 1/8 inch paneling, that I was going to put here to cover that, but I used that somewhere else. I was going to use, now, the ceiling is still, needs a coat, but I don't have enough green paint left to coat anything. I've got just enough to do some touch-up. But, you know, it's going to be like this most of the time. It might be like that. So by the time, that'll work out just fine. Like you said at the beginning, you know, no matter what I do, it's a trailer. It's a mobile home. It's manufactured housing. Everything's manufactured. Your manufactured car or manufactured, everything. They just use that term to make it sound more than what it is. It's a mobile home. It's a transportable mobile dwelling. There is no manufacturer, there's no mobile home manufacturer that builds a quality product. I think next thing I'm going to change out that light fixture for a different kind of light fixture. I don't like that. And did you know that right here is an air vent? This sucks in as fresh air from the outside. Now here's a mobile home for you. This vent is just a hole that goes out the roof with a cover over it. And it's a straight shot. There's no filter. There's no screen. Nothing. Birds, bugs, anything can fly right in there with no problem. In fact, I figured that out one day when there were hornets coming through here. I said, where the heck are the hornets coming from? I went up there and lifted the top off, and you know what was in it? A nest. There was a big old nest right in this thing. They'd come in here just every once in a while by accident, because it's a safe place for them. So after they left, I cleaned all that out, and I put a screen over it. I put a wire mesh and a stainless steel screen over it, and then put the top back on it. That's what mobile homes are. Big old hole, cut corners every way they possibly can. Save a few pennies. I always thought that was weird, but if you figure they're saving 10 cents per dwelling, and they do 1,000 of them, that's a lot of money. And they're saving 10 cents here, 20 cents there, 5 cents here, 10 cents there. You think they put some decent wiring in, which is the other thing. You know, this little wiring, which is the minimum allowed by law, it's the minimum size, so it doesn't carry much power. But anyway, if you look in the wall, this stuff's just draped in here. This is an extra 150 feet of wire in the walls where they just drop it in.
because it comes through the ceiling. And just drop it in, and it's wrapped up in the walls. You can pull out 5 or 6 feet out of every outlet. And yet they want to use the cheap wire rather than good wire because it's cheap. And then they waste it by putting that much extra in. I don't know. They're just stupid. And as I've said before, never, ever, ever buy a brand new mobile home. You buy a used one for less than $5,000. Put $2,000 in it with insulation and wiring and plumbing. Fix it up. And it's paid for. You pay cash up front, boom, you're paid for. You buy one of these, in 10 years, it starts falling apart. I had to change out the washers in the water faucets the first month. Then, within 3 months, I had to change out this wall plate. I had to change out this switch because it started smoking. And I changed out that one because it was actually, there was holes, there was cold air blowing through it from outside. There's air coming from outside the fixture blowing through here, right through the wall, and blowing just breeze coming through there. So I opened it up, stuffed insulation. While I had it open, I went ahead and replaced it. Meanwhile, back to my project. So you can see that the ceiling not having paint on it isn't going to make that much difference. So the next part of the deal is cleaning up the mess. Get the stuff out of here that doesn't belong here. Figure out what goes on those shelves. Then the next part, and action! So we've got most of it done. Got the trim on. Found some magnetic strip and coat hooks and epoxied them on. So there, that sticks just fine. I'd really like to have a thing right here where you could just pull it down, and here's your gloves or whatever you got there, and just put it back up. I'd like to put some kind of a screen right here. And I still have to clean up the mess. I got a window to put in this door so that I can open it and have fresh air. Finished cleaning this up. All this stuff belongs somewhere else. But I'm in the middle of projects, and so it's kind of hard to put stuff up, and then you gotta get it right back out to do the next project. So half the stuff stays out most of the time. The next one too, I'm going to replace this. I don't know where this came from, the hallway, the other hallway. Put that in there. I don't know why they would have a full room double light fixture in this little entryway. This is more appropriate for an entryway, so I'll put that in here. This belongs out on the roof. The roof project, that's a humongous deal. I'm going to have to replace the roof. So I'm going to try to do it in stages because it's one person doing the job. The only thing I noticed is I would really like to have some kind of screen right here, because obviously you don't want to put anything in here and just to cover that just for the heck of it, for looks, whatever. This is my welding coat. As soon as I ripped the liner out of it, I got a good solid leather welding coat right here. Gosh, I don't know. Freed up a lot of space. Over here you can see where I had to cut this. I pulled that out and pulled this off because it was leaking from the factory. Had a big puddle right here. So I'm really seriously considering putting a small sink right here. Mirror, first aid kit, sink. Come in here and get cleaned up, fixed up, without having to traipse through the house. Oh,
But we really need to do the roof first. And I got that for my birthday. Happy birthday! Put in a window. Put a window in your dirt door.